Today we're going to be building a jaw-dropping Chinese pangolin habitat, but before I unleash the gates of chaos, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more, and now let the chaos begin. So did I build this build because I thought, oh yeah, nice small build, Chinese pangolins, small animals, it's not going to be a big habitat. Yes, but say it with me, Poison can't build small builds. Because this was supposed to just be a small build just to quickly get out of the Australian area, because I've built so much in the Australian area that I'm now just like, I wanted to build something different, I wanted to build something small, and then this habitat happened. Also, funny thing is that I built this habitat because I wanted like a nice, fully outdoor area. Halfway through building, and this is pretty much a stereotype of whatever I'm building, halfway through building I find out these animals are nocturnal. They don't really want an outdoor area, because the only time that they will use that outdoor area is like late in the evening in the night. Yes, I did not realize that Chinese pangolins are nocturnal, or that pangolins in general I think are nocturnal. Luckily I overshoot the size of my habitats by so much every time that I could actually then build a larger indoor area for them without the habitat being too small. So in the end, they do have an indoor area. It's not as big as I probably would have wanted if I knew right from the get-go that it was a nocturnal animal, but it's there. Now there's another reason why I built this habitat, and that's because I don't like holes. Now, I'm not talking about tryptophobia, like it's not a fear of holes, but ever since I removed the snow leopard habitat, but didn't remove the red-crowned crane habitat, there was just this hole, because the Asian Highlands area was just there, just kind of floating there, was not attached to the rest of Naturalis in any sort of way. So that just bugged the hell out of me, where it's just like you have all of these puzzle pieces, you have the puzzle pretty much completely finished, but there's this one hole, like there's this one empty space where you're missing a puzzle piece, and that's just mental anxiety or mental torture for me. So as soon as I was like, alright, I'm just going to take a break from the Australian area, I need to go and build something else, it was immediately just like, yeah, I need to build in the Asian Highlands, because otherwise it's just going to annoy the hell out of me. So I started building in the Asian Highlands. And then I realized, oh, this is going to be a entrance habitat. Like, this is the habitat that you will pass on your way to the Asian Highlands, or on your way into the Asian Highlands. So it needs to be kind of massive. Well, not massive in size, but just, it needs to be kind of jaw-dropping. It needs to have like all of that pizzazz. How am I going to do that? And then I thought, let's build a gate. Now, if you type in Asian gate in Google or Pinterest, you will get Japanese story gates, most likely. And I didn't want to use those. Why? Because I wanted something with like a whole lot of pizzazz, and a Japanese story gate is a little bit too calm and peaceful for it. I needed something that would really just go bam in your face. There's a sexual innuendo there, definitely, but I just wanted something that would just be bam in your face. So then I looked up Asian gatehouses, because if you say Asian gate, you get torii gate, but if you say gatehouses, then you get like full-on buildings usually. And then I came across a whole lot of an AI generated stuff, which I'm not going to say, oh, I'm saying I've never used AI art. Well, I don't even want to call it art, because it's just algorithms and computers. I definitely have used AI generated images for inspiration in Naturalis. However, I only use those when it's real, like, modern buildings, such as in the central area of Naturalis. Because when it comes to like the style of modern building that I'm using, it's usually very generic. It's very just like, you can't really pinpoint like a cultural heritage or historical heritage to like any of the buildings in the central area. So then it's like, oh yeah, they're even there, I don't think there's a lot of AI art, because kind of like there's a vibe to. I keep saying AI art just because you hear it everywhere. It's just like AI art, but it's just images. It's kind of just like a fart. It's just algorithms and numbers and such. But if you get that drilled into your head under a certain name, you just can't disattach it from that. But when it comes to like the AI generated images, there's usually a kind of vibe to them, even with buildings. Like when it's like AI generated art, I'm saying that with the biggest asterisks, or things, language stuff, where like the things on the sides when you're saying something really sarcastically. But when it comes to art, you usually can tell with like, oh yeah, the fingers are weird. This image or this character has like 500 teeth. The eyes are in different directions. It's like all of those stuffs. But even with like AI generated images of buildings, there's usually kind of a vibe of just like, this looks just weird. There's a vibe that I can't really pinpoint. Like I can't say like, oh, it's the window or it's the door. Actually, you might actually look at like the door handles. But there's usually a vibe. So even when it comes to like the central area, I usually go for like images that I have like a certain idea of like, yeah, this most likely drawn up by an architect. Actually, when it comes to the Australian area, a lot of those a lot of those buildings are actually drawn up by a single guy. That I just like, I'm just like, all right, he has a whole load of these images that he drew up, and they actually are quite cool. So they are the style that I want, and it's like different styles. But like I know that like that's somebody who actually drew that stuff. It's not a computer that just spew it out into the internet. But yeah, when it comes to, because we obviously need to build or talk about the building, but when it comes to like especially the Asian highlands and the African area, because I really want to tie those to like the area that they are coming from, like the cultural heritage and historical heritage, I'm just like, yeah, no. So when I looked up Asian gatehouse, I got a lot of AI generated stuff. And I was just like, nope. Because that would be just a huge disservice to areas that have like so much cultural diversity and all of that. And I'm saying all of that just because to explain it, I probably won't be able to, because there's also just a side note. When it comes to tutorials and such, because people have been requesting those pretty much ever since I started making videos, me explaining things is definitely not the way to go, because I can't. This is why I never wanted to become a teacher, because I will just melt your brain trying to explain things. And by the end, you would have been much better off just looking at how I'm doing stuff, because if I have to attach words to what I'm doing, trying to explain what I'm doing, yeah, I will just create a black hole in your mind that will just destroy everything in the known universe. And the unknown universe, most likely. So, trying to explain things, I will usually just go for like, and all of that. Because I'm just like, yeah, me trying to explain this is not going to help you in any sort of way. It might actually be a disadvantage. But when it comes to the Asian highlands and the African area, I am just like, yeah, nothing AI generated, because there's so much inspiration from real life buildings, things that you can draw from there. And especially with the African area, yeah, I was just like, nope. But yeah, when it comes to like the central area, I think that the building from the grizzly bear habitat might be AI generated, but I'm not sure. Because by now I also have like 2000 images pinned on my Pinterest. And I'm sure that there's some AI generated images between that as well. I'm not a saint. And definitely when it comes to like artists and such, please get it from actual artists. Don't go for AI generated stuff because it's soulless. And also, usually there's a lot of mistakes in it. Right now, I'm very happy that there's mistakes in it because it's creepy how quickly it's advancing. And worrying. Anyways, all that aside, let's talk about the actual building. So, as said, when looking for Asian gatehouses, and I found Chinese gatehouses, like the fortress gates. And what we're building right now is inspired by it, but not an actual copy of it, because usually those gatehouses, they are a lot more thicker, so I slimmed the gatehouse for Naturalis down a lot, because otherwise it would take up so much space, which would work well if it was like, oh yeah, I could put some staff buildings in here, because then you have a lot of space inside of the building. But because I wanted this to be a little bit more airy, a little bit more pretty, that sounds very weird, but because of that and because of like the structure that I wanted, like usually when I start building, I already have in mind, alright, this is kind of like the size, the structure, like I usually have that in mind already. So I slimmed down a actual Chinese fortress gate and then just went building. And also, when it came to the gatehouse that I found, well, actually with almost all of the gatehouses that I found, they're really colorful, like really nicely colorful, like with reds and like these sort of more jade greens. However, when it comes to Naturalis, I'm really heavily just like, I have color palettes set for every area. I can't use reds in the Asian Highlands, or I can only use them as like interest colors, like those little colors that like sometimes just peek out, but they're not like the main color of buildings. Whereas with the gatehouse that I found, they're usually like fully red, like all of the woodwork is fully red, or the actual gatehouse, like the stones, like the plasterwork has like a certain color, usually also kind of reddish. But here it was just like, yeah, when it comes to the Asian Highlands, the color palette that I had set is grays, blacks, and beiges. I can do, actually it's not an interest color, it's called a, I immediately forgot the word for it. I got the word, and then you just, the Windows boot up sound or turn off sound just played in my head, and it's just like, yeah. Oh yeah, it's an accent color. Yeah, this is again why you don't want me explaining stuff, because I am a dumbass. I will forget a word, will remember it for 5 seconds, will draw attention of like, hey, I remembered it. And as soon as I said I remembered it, it's gone again. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, so when it comes to this gatehouse, it was a lot of fun building, because it's kind of like the most fantasy-esque building that I get to do in Naturalis. It's the Asian Highlands, and it's the African area, but also a little bit not really the European area, which we really need to start on again. I don't know, this has always been the plan for Naturalis, is to have an Asian Highlands area, but also to have a Southeast Asian area behind the Asian Highlands area. So that's like the last area that we are ever going to build for Naturalis. I have no idea with Planet Coaster 2 coming up if we will actually get to it, because I'm a squirrel, I will get sidetracked. I mean, this entire video has been sidetracked, because, well, I probably have to explain this, because I said, oh, I'm going to stockpile videos. So that meant that I wouldn't have to make videos while I'm beginning working, because this week, well, maybe past week from when this video goes up, but I started a new job, started a new job, which means the first few weeks are complete hell when you're like settling into a new routine. You know, you're getting used to like the flow of work and everything, which meant, oh yeah, I will most likely be completely exhausted when I get home, so I want to have videos stockpiled. I also will have less time to make videos. And then there's a 2-week gap in videos as soon as I start working. What's that about? Well, what happened was, my first approach was, when it came to making videos, alright, let's completely finish the videos beforehand. Like, before I start working, let's have at least 2 videos completely set, ready to go, just need to publish on YouTube. And then I realized there's so much stuff going on right now with the upcoming release of Planet Coaster 2, with probably the final, although I thought the last DLC was also the final one, but potentially the final DLC for Planet Zoo coming up. Like, there's so much stuff going on. And then there's also Inzoi, which I want to get into. Not really gameplay wise, I just want to build it because it looks fun. But like, there's a lot of stuff happening right now. So I was just like, yeah, if I make all of the videos beforehand, like have it all finished before I start working, then you will get videos where the voiceovers are like a month old. So I will be talking about like, oh yeah, this has been released on Planet Coaster, like the news and such, and it's like a month old. Planet Coaster is already out. I've already started building on it, and then it's just like weird because it's just like, yeah, this commentary is a month old. I'm talking about stuff from a month ago while this is happening right now. So then I decided, alright, I can continue to build, just have all of the footage of the build ready, and then every week make a voiceover, do the editing and such, because that doesn't take as much work as the building. So that was the plan. And then I was like, alright, I need to prepare, like, get all of the stuff ready, make sure that I've signed off on everything, like, signed all of the paperwork. So then I was like, alright, I'm going to take a week break before I start working to get all of that fixed. I thought, alright, I'm going to, like, let's say Tuesday, I don't know. But like Tuesday, I'm going to be finished working, I will get home and I will make a voiceover. You know what happened? Well, actually, this is just to put it into even a clearer picture. I woke up in the morning, got breakfast, went to work, finished work at the end of the day, went home, got dinner, fell asleep. I was that exhausted. And so then I was like, oh yeah, well, I did all the voiceover the next day. Next day, similar thing happened. Or I was like so exhausted where it was just like, yeah, I can't just make a voiceover right now because I will fall asleep halfway through. So then it just got delayed, and now we're here. It's the weekend, I can finally make the voiceover, I can do the editing and such, but yeah, that's what happens. So my idea of like, oh yeah, let's have continuous videos while I start working and such, that plan kind of failed. I, however, still have like this build was already ready, the next build is also ready, which is also a huge build, which funnily enough was very quickly put together, but I've pretty much all of the footage ready. It's just the voiceover that needs to be made and then the editing and such. Because I'm not really settled in at work, because that takes a little bit longer, but because I now have a little bit of a clear picture of like, oh yeah, this is going to be my mental state after working, I kind of now realize, alright, I know when I can do this, and I know when I need to take a break to recuperate some energy. So yeah, after this video, I will most likely, well, not immediately head into making the voiceover of the next one, but I now know, alright, the weekends are for when I make the voiceovers, And during the week, it's just either building in Plant Zoo or doing some other stuff just to relax a bit. Although, funnily enough, because my work is assignment based, I might have a few weeks off between assignments. Which is fun because I still get paid. Yay! Anyways, let's continue talking about the actual building. But yeah, I'm trying to get more organized when it comes to videos and all of the editing and voiceover stuff, so that you guys will still have videos. However, it's the first few weeks of starting a job, which is always the most stressful and the most, like, you need to settle into a routine. Anyways, let's start talking about the building, because as I said, halfway through building the Chinese pangolin habitat, I realized, oh yeah, Chinese pangolins are nocturnal. So when it came to their indoor space, I had very little planned. I basically wanted to build a chicken coop. Doesn't work like that when it comes to Chinese pangolins. So I had to make the actual indoor habitat bigger. And I think it's still like the right size for pangolins. It's just that they also have a massive outdoor area. But then because these pangolins are kept in captivity, at least Kate said, like, they will most likely slightly adapt to the actual situation in Naturalis. So they might actually go outside a little bit earlier or something. But yeah, they have a massive outdoor area, which I just sort of styled as like a garden. So that even if the pangolins aren't there, it's still very pretty to look at. But if the Chinese pangolins are there, it's like, ooh, nice, they're outside. And here's the fun thing. Animals in Planet Zoo aren't accurate. Because, I mean, the kiwis are nocturnal animals. They go outside all the time. Then pangolins, haven't seen them inside once. I did check that they can actually get inside. Like, that's the biggest thing that I always need to check when I'm building. Is just like building the gates or like the doors for the animals to go in between their indoor and outdoor areas. I always need to check that, because just the hitboxes of the animals in Planet Zoo are sometimes so tedious, because it's like, oh yeah, the Chinese pangolin, it's really tiny. They don't need a large door to get in between their indoor and outdoor areas. Yeah, you would be surprised. So it's usually I need to make them higher, which for even like for Chinese pangolins especially doesn't make any sense because they're tiny. But a lot of times it's just like, oh yeah, I need to make this higher. A very few amount of times do I need to make it broader, because I usually go for like, let's put the animal, like, mentally, put it sideways, take that length and use that as like the width of the gates. Then actually add like 25 centimeters on each side. Which is still a little bit of a ridiculous sizing, because the animals, like, they are not going to stand sideways into the entrance or into the door. But that's just like, that's Planet Zoo mechanics. You just need to work with that if you want a functional habitat. So yeah, anyways, then I also made a massive roof, which I think this is the biggest critique I have of this habitat, is just a massive roof. It's just a massive roof where there's the roof tiles. Well, I say it's roof tiles. It's basically just the beams, but it's just a flat area. Well, not flat, it's curved, but it just looks so flat because there's nothing like breaking up the roof a bit. So it's just there. So I made it that the entrance for the keepers is sort of like a building jutting out of it. And I, for a long time, thought, alright, let's make a hole in the roof or a gap in the roof where we can have like a sort of rooftop garden just to break up that roof. And if this roof ever changes in the future, that will most likely be the thing that changes. But it was just like, yeah, this roof is just, it's too boring. I need something there. And then, of course, because it's a nocturnal area, I needed to make sure that the viewing area for the guests, I didn't want it to be like you going into a building. Like, I didn't want doors or anything. But it did need it to be like sheltered from the sun. So that it's always kind of dark there. Because if it's just in sunlight, then the pangolins are just going to go into their burrows. But anyways, then it was on to building the outdoor area, which is pretty much 90% of this habitat, aside from the gate. But that's because it was an entrance. Like this habitat, and actually the habitat next to it, are the entrance habitats, as I would call it. These are the habitats that are like, they are supposed to draw your interest. They're supposed to draw you towards the ancient highlands in this case. So when it came to the Chinese pangolin habitat, it was just like, yeah, this needs to be, it needs to have a waterfall, or at least it needs to have a creek. That was the first idea. And then I realized it needs to be really pretty. It needs to be like really lush and everything. And then I realized, how do I build the elevator here? Because like the ancient highlands, it's I think 7 meters up from everything else, so you definitely need an elevator. I could make one of those, it's not a ramp, but it's like you have them on stairs. I actually used it for like another build, like an upcoming build. But it's kind of a lift that you can have on like stairs, where you have like a seat or like a platform that sort of goes over rails up the stairs. I could do that, but I want an elevator. But I'm just struggling with like, oh yeah, is that going to take attention away from the gatehouse? Because the gatehouse is supposed to be like the main feature. The weedy, as some might call it. Even though there's also going to be a massive restaurant in the Asian Highlands. Because I have ideas for Naturalis. A lot of them. Do I have the time for it? I don't know. We will also check in when Planet Coaster 2 has been released and see how much ideas and how much energy I have for Planet Zoo 2 then. I say Planet Zoo 2 when we're not even finished with Planet Zoo. It's just, everything is 2 now. Planet Coaster 2. Well, that's actually the only one. I just have 2 in my head for some reason. Like sometimes you're just like, alright, I've been hearing about Planet Coaster 2 the whole time, and now you just like have 2 in your head. So you accidentally say Planet Zoo 2. Before anyone starts saying, oh, Poison knows about Planet Zoo 2. And I don't. I know as much as you guys. Which I think is actually slightly insulting towards you guys. And me saying that. Oh, I know as much as Poison? Oh god, that's an insult. Anyways, going back into building the actual habitat. I'm obsessed with the stalagmites. As you can definitely see. They're just great because they look like just weirdly artificial in a way as well. Also, it's just, it gives a really sharp corner. It gives a really sharp edge, which you will see when it comes to like creeks and everything in zoos. That's like, it's usually artificial, so there's sharp corners, sharp edges to it. And also it just looks great, and you can make it blend in with the environment because you can recolor them. Like that's the biggest thing when it comes to all of the recolorable rocks and everything. You can just make it blend in so much better than the actual natural rocks, because like you can change the color palette slightly. Like the rocks in the Asian Highlands have a different color than the ones in the Australian area. They have a different color than the ones in the African area. And so you can make really distinct areas just by slightly changing the color of the rocks or the dirt and anything. Because Naturalis, besides the lion remodel, because God help the original model of the lion in Planet Zoo, but besides potential remodels for animals that really need them, Naturalis is completely mod free. Not even like the events move mod thing. I like the struggle. I like just constantly just adjusting a road just slightly so that it works. What do you call that? A masochist? I like the struggle. It makes it feel like I've achieved more. It's like a little bit of like a boost. It's like going up a hill on a regular bike instead of an electrical bike, because it's just more of a struggle, and so when you're at the top of the hill, you feel even more rewarded. Yeah, it's also, I can't be bothered downloading it. So yeah, Naturalis, besides the animal remodels, because some animals really need them, especially base game animals, but besides animal remodels, Naturalis is completely mod free, because I love to torture myself. And I also am really stubborn and set in my ways, and I don't want to learn new things. I also, I tried to make a creek. I'm proud of it, but damn was it a lot of work. It was just like, alright, this needs to be moved slightly. Slide more. No, that's too much. Move it slightly. And then it worked. Because building rivers, building waterfalls, easy. Building a tiny creek, either it looks like a river rapid or there's nothing. It's very difficult to find that middle ground. I'm very proud of what I achieved, but it could definitely look better. But that's just like a limitation of Planet Zoo. Like sometimes I have to be like, alright Poison, yes, you can spend 5 days trying to figure this out. Or you can settle for what you know and how it has turned out so far, and just, you know, it's Planet Zoo. It's not going to have everything, because there's limitations to a game. Even though you want to break those limitations in half, eat them up, spit them out, and stamp on their remains. I mean, I'm happy with how the habitat turned out, but there's always things that you can improve. Maybe I'm a little bit too much like self-critical, but like especially when it comes to building creeks, I want to get better, but I also just want to build more. Like a lot of the habitats in Naturalis so far, like there's no, like this is I think the first waterfall that we have in Naturalis in a habitat. Because there's the waterfall as the entrance to the African area. But I want to build more waterfalls. I want to build more creeks and such. Because I have like the large river in the Australian area. But like I want to have like more waterfall effects and all of that. And I actually am thinking of, because Naturalis is going to have something special, I am thinking of building a huge waterfall in the Australian area as an entrance to that special thing, which is not the indoor Nocturnal house, which is also a huge build. Like there's two huge things in, well actually there's sort of two, but like the entrance to the special area is not that huge. But like, I have so much still planned for the Australian area. And people have been asking, hey, is Naturalis ever going to be on the workshop? As soon as I finish the Australian area, I am going to release Naturalis, or at least that version of Naturalis, on the workshop. I will say though, most PCs will probably not be able to handle Naturalis. I am actually going to, probably in like this month or the next month, upgrade my PC. Not for Naturalis, Planet Zoo is running fine, but like Planet Coaster 2 and also Inzoi, which I really want to play. I'm not going to go for any gameplay in Inzoi because that will send me to a mental asylum right away. Also because, at least knowing from experience from The Sims, I get very easily distracted and very easily bored. So it will be like, oh yeah, very short gameplay. And I don't think my personality, at least, or at least how I play it, is going to be interesting. So gameplay wise, I'm probably just leave that as like just a personal thing. And I won't put it on YouTube. But like building things in Inzo might be fun to do that. Like speed builds and such. That might be fun. Because I won't easily get bored of that. But yeah, there's a lot of games where I'm immediately, as soon as I hear of it, it's just like, do I want to use this on the channel? Nah, let's keep this separate. Because I think that's like just healthy to just have games that you will never put on the channel. No matter how much you enjoyed it, it's just like, you need your like separate space life from public life. Which, when it comes to YouTube and such, I am very happy to have kept like my IRL life and YouTube very separate. Yes, IRL I don't go on these rambling messes. I get all of my rambles out here in front of you guys, so that in real life I'm slightly more professional. Slightly. Very slightly. Minuscule. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. We're finishing off with the garden in front of the indoor section or the guest viewing area of the pangolin habitat. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more. There's also channel memberships if you want to see videos few days in advance. I don't know how much in advance this video is going to be, but there's channel memberships. And also, if you have a membership, you get access to emotes. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. Hope you have a wonderful day, guys. Bye bye.